Let's reshape your relationships. Want to know more? Stick around. We are going to talk to Sherry McClurkin. But first, I am Traci Poe, the host of the Communicate Great podcast. Welcome. We are a podcast where we help you level up your communication skills by bringing on fabulous guests like Sherry. So we're going to talk to her in a second. But if you have not hit subscribe, do that, like, comment, all the things. All right, Sherry, thank you for coming on.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you, Tracy, for the invitation and opportunity. Very excited.
I'm excited, and just for you all, our audience, Sherry has been on the podcast before, so go back and check her other episode out. You were on the podcast, right?
Yeah, I was
I
on the
think they.
podcast, but I should check it too. I've probably changed since then because I
Uh,
recently niched a little bit
yeah,
deeper. So
yeah.
I wonder what I said before.
I don't go back and watch.
It's all
That
good.
is
It's still all
that
true.
is so. Okay. Well, okay. So you talked about you have niched down, and this is exactly why I wanted you to come back onto the podcast because I love talking about communication that impacts relationships. And I know that you're working on some things. And of course, I thought, no, I would really like to have you back on to do that. And we were talking before we hit record. And one of the things that we were talking about was I said something along the lines of that, in my opinion, the degree with which we communicate with people in a healthy way or in an unhealthy way directly impacts the degree to which that relationship is healthy or unhealthy.
Yes.
And I stand by that. And Sherry said, "Oh, but let's take it deeper." So
Yes.
we'll get to taking it deeper in a second. Sherry, do you want to let everybody know what you're doing now, who you are, how you got to niching down, all of that stuff?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in an alcoholic home where learned quite well, don't communicate. Don't talk about things. Just pretend everything's fine. I learned how to be insecure. I learned how to be very anxious, perfectionistic, and I carried that into adulthood, as we all do, right? I failed out of college in my early 20s and got married because I didn't know what else to do. I only went to college because I didn't know what else to do. And communicate, heck no. I still didn't know what that was. So I have a very long journey, a very up and down journey when Christ entered my life at 38 years old. So I come to Christ later in life. That's when my healing really, really, really started. Got connected to a good therapist. I was in the IT world at the time. Got
Okay.
connected to a good therapist. My husband and I worked on some things at the time. Didn't really stick. Got divorced.
Mm,
I became a therapist. I was fully licensed and everything. So I have all the training and education back there. And then it occurred to me, I came to a point in my own growth and my own
mhm,
faith journey, where I wanted my faith to be more front and center, not pushing it on anyone, but
mhm.
no longer pretending it doesn't exist either, which is a good
Right.
therapist would be more of a blank slate for you, which is what I was. But I'm not in a place in my life anymore where I want to do that. So I have learned the hard way, is what I say. I've learned the hard way. I've made so many relationship mistakes. I've had so many relationship mistakes made on me, if you will.
Right.
I've
Right.
had betrayal. I've had people turning their backs on me. I've been gossiped about. I've been lied about. It's somehow I still found out about some of these things, but if people aren't willing to admit what's going on, they then try to cheat you as if you're crazy. Uh, and so my goal really is, let's look at what we bring into relationships, because that's what I did when I was married. I was very emotionally immature, and
Hmm.
I brought a whole bunch of needs, assumptions, and expectations into that relationship that no human being could actually fulfill.
Wow. Okay.
And I didn't know how to communicate because the needs, expectations, and assumptions were overriding that. So,
Mm.
you see it all the time, right? Where couples are like, one of them is talking in this language, the other one's talking. It's almost like they're literally talking two different languages. Well, that's because they're talking from their needs, expectations, and assumptions. they're not talking from what's really going on. They're not talking from the ability to listen and understand.
Mm.
They're talking from, "I need this from you, just do what I need," but if we're both doing it at the same time, it doesn't work.
Right. Right. Yeah, I okay, so I like that. There's so much there that you just kind of pulled in, and I really anytime somebody talks about assumptions, my ears kind of perk up because that's one of the things I work with people on are those negative assumptions that are so damaging. So I'm super excited to hear you talk about that. And there is a fly that is buzzing around me that it's driving me crazy. Okay. All right. So you kind of switched from a broader way of caring for people. Now you're just focusing on relationships, which is huge. It is
Yes.
huge. So many people need this. And I will say, not even just in maybe a romantic relationship, a spousal, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, sibling, parent,
Yes.
child,
Yes.
coworker, friend, neighbor. This is every relationship that you have.
Yes.
And
100%.
we could even get technical, and I know you're not gonna talk about this today necessarily, but truly the relationship that you have with yourself. And
Yes.
I know that you do talk about some of that. So I just don't know what all you're talking about this time, but I'm just gonna let you go. Just bring us the tips that you have, the advice that you have, whatever, and we'll just kinda talk through them all, and then we'll tell everybody goodbye. So let's just let's go.
So the truth is that we are born with, if not even before then, needing, desiring to be truly loved, truly seen, truly cherished and treasured. At the same time, we're also scared to be truly loved, truly seen, truly loved and treasured.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it comes after you've been hurt so many times.
Well, a lot of things, right? It has to do with our own inner stories, and that's what I work on a lot because by reshaping your relationships, you change. This is my work. We work on changing how you come into the relationship. And you're right, Tracy. I'm so glad you brought up. It's not just intimate. It is friendships because that's where we first test it out is
Mm.
friendships,
Yeah,
right? That's where we're
right,
first learning things. It
right.
is coworkers. It is parent to adult child. It is adult child to parent. It is all of those things. We are bringing in assumptions, expectations, and needs, and expecting the other person to just get it. To
Right.
read our minds in a sense, just get it, take care of it, except they have their own needs, assumptions, and expectations.
Exactly, exactly. So wait, how many times have you heard something like, "Well, if he loved me, he would just know."
Yes! Oh my gosh.
I used to do that, right? Because it's something I
Right,
heard other women say.
right,
And so I just was going along with the crowd. And then I figured out one day, and luckily I was pretty young when I figured it out. I thought, wait a minute,
right,
nobody is a mind reader.
right.
So yeah.
And going even deeper, no, they're not heart readers. And if you are both emotionally mature, this really is about emotional maturity. If you're, and that's not a negative that there's still growth. We all have growth to do.
Mm.
And where we are on the emotional maturity scale, and it's a scale, it's not a yes or no. It really has a lot to do with where did we start? Like I said, I started in a deficit and had to learn my way through, which is completely fine. That's the way mine worked. Somebody else may have had the a different upbringing and different exposures and different examples and modeling for them, and they start out much more mature than I did or than others do. That's completely fine. The point being, if we really want a clear communication, clear, intentional communication, we have to start here. Wherever you are, you have to start here.
Right.
Am I
Inside. Yeah.
clearly stating without built-in assumptions, without expecting the other person to fulfill a need, without having an expectation of what the other person may or may not do,
Mm,
may or may not say,
yeah. Right. Right.
right?
So when you're working with people, that's where you start. You start by helping them answer those questions for themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we figure out where you are. Yeah, where are you in this? And I love using the real examples of give me a relationship where this is showing up. It shows up in the hard ones or when we need a hard conversation or there's something about that relationship where we feel guarded or somehow less than or a little intimidated at times. There's just something unsettling about that relationship. Let's talk about that one because that's the one that's going to show your needs, assumptions, and expectations. That's where they're going to show up. Everything's going well. Nobody comes to get coaching.
Hey, I'm healthy and I'm fine, but help me.
So what we do is we start identifying them. Let's just identify them. We have to be real. Let's just identify them. And then let's also then set your goals. What would you like? Where would you like it to look like? How would you like to be operating differently in this? Because
Okay.
this isn't about the other person. This healing a relationship is not about changing the other person. Is would that be ideal? Of course. But guess what? We can't do that.
Right. And again, along with another thing of how many times have you heard, how many times does somebody come to you and they want the other person to change?
Yeah, I've
And
been there. I've done it. If
yeah,
only he'd
exactly. Oh, you don't even know my prayers. Lord, change that person. Right? And then again, at a certain point, your prayers kind of morph to, "Lord, change my heart." Right? Like, "Please help me," start pull the, log out of my own eye. Help me pull that log out first.
exactly. Yes. Hence, I am divorced and I've been
Me
single.
too.
I am single, I've been single for over 10 years, completely fine with it. That's a big exercise for people. I actually and it was hard for me too, to adjust to that. I literally did not know how to take care of myself for a while. I was like, I don't "Oh, I have to pay my own bills and take track all of that? Oh,
Oh,
I have to take care of all the house stuff too? I have to, like, keep the groceries and wash and everything?" It's a great exercise. It's a great exercise because if we go by all the movies and the streaming shows and everything, they take 2 very, very messed up people and match them together and then make it look like, "Oh, they'll just be wonderful." That is not what actually happens. They will have they will have they're gonna have tons of arguments, lots of conflict because they don't understand themselves. How can they possibly understand somebody else? They're bringing in assumptions, needs, and expectations and wanting the other one to take care of those things for them instead of the ideal, which none of us meet, but this is the goal. The ideal is 2 very healthy people come together. You're still gonna have arguments and disagreements because 'cause you're 2 different people, but you're gonna have the skills to calmly work those out without throwing in assumptions about each other, assumptions about ourselves, expectations and inner needs that we want the other person to fulfill, such as, if we come in this is a very common one. If we come into a relationship with a need to be loved, I don't feel lovable, I don't feel loved, I haven't had that experience. You come into a relationship with that need, that is going to change the way you communicate, what you think about the relationship, how you are in the relationship versus I choose freely to be in this relationship because we are 2 healthy people and I enjoy being in this relationship. There is nothing it needs to do for me. It's just enjoyable.
yes. Yeah. And again, that's another one of those things where people want who they're with to fulfill and meet all of their needs, and that's not reality. It's way not reality.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, this happens in friendships and in intimate relationships. I've experienced that in friendships myself. Because we're always learning, okay? We're always learning. I am not putting myself up here as I'm done. I've got all the information. No, I'm putting myself up there as I've made all the mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me help you not make my mistakes.
Yes.
Let me help.
So it wasn't
I
that
can do
long
that.
ago. I was in a friendship developed myself and another woman, and seemed great at first. But the more time that we had some fun times together, but the more time we spent together, the more her kind of need to it became more a little bit more codependent, and I was aware of this growing codependency, and I was so uncomfortable. At the same time, I cared enough about her, I didn't wanna hurt her feelings, and I hear that all the time too. I did
Right.
it too. But there came a point where I had to say, "No, no, no. I can't be your everything. I can't be your everything. I can't be available for you all the time.
Right.
I can't do everything with you. I'm not your default plus one. I'm not. I
Right.
can't. I
Yeah.
can't."
Mhm.
And that didn't go over well, and I probably could have handled it way better. I'm still proud of myself for having done it,
Yeah. Considering what you talked about where you came from. So, yeah, that's
right?
huge. Yeah, good
Right?
job. Good job.
Now, the ideal in my situation, just using that as an example, would be that I wouldn't have gotten as deeply into our friendship, that relationship, before I would have kinda cut it off. That's a healthier way. And I don't have you don't have to actually cut it off, but put in those strong boundaries, and that's a
Boundaries.
whole 'nother
Right.
topic. The
Right. Yeah.
boundaries, and stick by them. Like, I could have said to her, "I so appreciate you inviting me to all of this. I'm just not able to do them all. I'm gonna kind of pick and choose." That's
Right.
all I had to say, and that's a boundary.
Like, yeah, we need to have you back on for a whole boundary episode.
That's another thing that gets messed up by movies and all those shows and everything, that they do not do boundaries correctly. They do punishment, and they that boundaries are not punishment. And again, this is adult to adult. If we're not talking about parent to child, that's a whole different
Right.
relationship.
Right.
This is two autonomous, independent beings.
Right.
A boundary is not for punishment, and a boundary is not to change the other person. A boundary is completely within your control, your control. So I'm only talking about what I can do, what's in my power, and what I'm willing to do and follow through on if the boundary gets continually crossed. So
Right.
it's not a, "You have to stop doing that." That's not a boundary. That's trying to control someone else. Boundaries are not control, they are protection, and your peace matters. Your peace matters. You are not getting peace in a relationship, rethink the way you're showing up, your
Mm.
needs, assumptions, expectations, and what you're really wanting in this relationship.
Mhm. Mhm. So, do you wanna talk, and I don't know if you have other tips, but do you wanna talk about those one at a time, the assumptions and the needs, and I've already forgotten the other one.
Well, so the way I kind of break it down is we go into assumptions, needs, and expectations.
Expectations, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's okay. And that definitely comes from your history. That's the initial ones, so that you get an idea of things. And then what we do is we kind of talk about boundaries. This is just a general kind of outline. We start introducing boundaries, and I love using Jesus. Jesus is the perfect boundary setter, perfect. And one of the things that Jesus did not let pass is family. Family did not get a special pass from Jesus. There are
Mhm.
several
Yeah,
passages,
yeah,
several situations where he was like, "Okay, mom and people are at my mom and brothers are at the door. Okay,
right,
I'm here with my people."
right, yeah.
That's very synopsis. But we too often give families a pass. "Well, that's just the way they are." "Well, I don't wanna hurt their feelings." "Well, that's the way my family operates."
Yes. Yeah. I absolutely have and not an immediate family situation, an extended one where sort of attached in a way down the line where people are saying, "Oh, it's just that person. Oh, that person." I'm not saying a name, right? And so it's that person gets a lot of passes, and somebody needs to stop. Like stop that unhealthy giving that person passes because how do they learn,
Yeah.
right?
Well, let's even go into styles of communication. Um, sorry, I am taking a little side here,
Take a little side
away
here. I
from
do it all the
boundaries a
time.
little bit. Yeah. Um, a lot of families, you may have learned in your family that the kind of cold shoulder or silence, go silent. That is not communication. The person still doesn't know what's going on with you, what you're wanting, what this is about. They don't know. You have to use your words. Silence is now if you need to take a break from a conversation, take a break, but you're
Yes.
stating
Yes.
that you're going to come back to it. You just need a
Yes.
break to cool down,
Right.
think,
Right.
process. Completely fine.
Yes.
Silence is not that. Silence is totally not that, and if you have a problem with someone, you come to that someone and you talk about it. You don't talk about it with everyone else. You
Yes.
talk about it to that someone so that you 2 can create a bridge between what happened and what we wanted to have happened or whatever you need there, and it doesn't mean that you're gonna get what you want out of it. Be very proud of yourself that you stood there and stood firm in what you were asking for. You weathered a potentially very difficult conversation. Don't avoid them. You make it worse. Genuinely, you're making it worse by avoiding the difficult what you may see as conflict. I don't like conflict. Well, I'm sorry. Conflict is a part of life.
Right. Right. So I'm glad that you talked about the silence. And I was going to say, and then you started saying, I was gonna say, now caveat is you can take a break so that you don't continue that negative, damaging spiral or say something that you can't take words back. So I
No.
like that you made that distinction, and I also know that you talked about punishment a little bit, and I
Yeah.
know sometimes that silent treatment is meant as a punishment.
Yes. Yes.
So there's almost like at least right now we're talking about 3 different types of silence. So I'm glad that you brought that one up because that made me think of the other one. So, but you're talking about one specific type of silence, and that is if you're not communicating, if you're not speaking to somebody, how do they know what's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know of situations where there has been estrangement, but genuinely want the person that has been kind of the target, if you will. It's not quite the right word, but uh, they don't really know what's going on because those that are upset with them won't talk. So
Right.
they genuinely don't know what exactly is the problem or issue, and they've not been given an opportunity to repair.
Right. Right.
And it is so important to be able to give people an opportunity to repair. Now, we're not talking about when in abusive relationships, that's another conversation.
Right.
This is a non-abusive relationship. We need to be able to sit down and talk about repair
Mhm.
and a
Mhm.
real apology. An apology doesn't say, "Well, if only you had." That's not an apology.
You're hitting so many things that I work with people on, that I do workshops on, that kind of thing, and apologies is one of them. Have you ever heard of the book, the 5 Apology Languages?
No, I that sounds intriguing.
Okay, so sidebar, I told you I do this all the time too, so you take as many sidebars as you want because I will. So sidebar, the kids grew up with me having them do assessments and reading books as a family, and so Dr. Gary Chapman wrote the 5 love languages, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking you've done things on that, I've done things on that. Well, he also did the 5 apology languages, and
Oh.
it's the same concept of just like with the love languages, if you're speaking one way, if you're showing your love one way, but whoever you're communicating with doesn't see it that or have that's theirs, they're not going to feel like you love them because you're, let's say, spending quality time with them and their love language is not quality time, it's words of affirmation.
Right.
So, anyhow, same thing with the apologies is that there are different types of apologies. And if you have one that you like to receive, that's how you're going to give it. And that may not hit them. And so they don't feel like you're really apologetic, that you're really remorseful, that you really mean that you want to apologize to them. So yeah, look it up. It's a good book.
I love that. I just wrote it down because I really am intrigued by that. So
Yeah.
that's also by Gary Chapman.
Yeah.
But that brings me to another thing is curiosity. We've lost curiosity. And I use that word purposely because curiosity means asking questions. Curiosity means listening to understand.
Yes.
So we can easily learn about each other if we would simply listen to understand and ask questions. And
Hmm.
that will also take care of all assumptions, needs, and expectations. Because if I hear you say XYZ and I say to you, okay, I think I just heard you say ABC, I've filtered it through a need or expectation or assumption then. But that because I asked it and not acted on it, not
Yeah.
reacted from it, that gives the other person an opportunity to add more or correct me in some manner or help me
Yep.
understand a little bit better,
Yes.
whatever is needed so that we can have that connection.
Yes.
Connection comes through understanding and curiosity. There's the
Yes.
bottom line to this.
Yes. Yep.
Curiosity and understanding, but you can't do that if you're coming in with assumptions, expectations, and needs. You expect the other person to just know
Right.
and fulfill for you.
Right. Right. And again, that's another one that I really hit with people is be curious, ask questions. Don't
Yeah.
make those assumptions. So I love it. I love it. Good, good, good. Okay, what else?
So this is all about, I can't remember if I already mentioned this or not, but I'm going to mention it again because this is really
Mention it.
important. This is truly about, and this is the work I do, is help you become an individual person, understanding what your own needs that you can fulfill on your own that maybe you don't even realize that you have and you had never thought about, oh, I can take care of that myself. Why, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
And what that does for you then is that when you are in relationship, you're actually choosing from your true self, from your soul and spirit instead of choosing because I feel a need, this person can fulfill this need, which happens unconsciously.
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
in this relationship because I enjoy being with this person, as opposed to I'm in this relationship because I feel good in those moments, and those are the only moments I feel really good. And how many I just hear it all the time, right? That we wanna be able to make a discerned choice, not an unconsciously forced fit, "Take care of me."
Right, right. That there are times when people have almost that desperation of how much they need someone. I
Yes.
had somebody ask me years ago in a dating relationship something along the lines of basically it wasn't worded this way, but is do you need me? And my response was no, I don't need you.
Beautiful.
And the person was he was offended. He was offended
Yes.
that I did not need him. And I I actually am a very independent person,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes because I am truly an introvert, and I think introverts can be independent people. We don't sometimes we don't really need people. So because we like being by ourselves, but or with our people, but no, yeah, my answer was no, I don't need you, and he did not like that response. And I
I
thought,
love that.
hmm,
Tracy, that is a beautiful example because that is not what our culture is about.
right,
Our culture is about just be in relationship
right,
just and bounce from one relationship to the next.
right.
You'll find that perfect person.
Right.
How about
It's no
make
perfect.
yourself the perfect person as far
Okay.
as making
Yeah,
ourselves
yeah,
the perfect
yeah.
person,
Right,
and then you will attract another healthy person to
right,
you,
right,
but you don't have to do that because you no longer need to be in that relationship. You choose whether or not you wanna be in that relationship, and so
right,
it's a freedom, and I'm not in any way saying you can this is willy-nilly or, not depth. I'm not saying this is not monogamous or I'm not advocating anything
right,
except take care of what's here,
right,
go here, look at what you're doing. And we don't have this relationship hopping anymore because
right.
now you know what it is you actually want in a person, what you're willing to accept and live with. You
Yeah,
have the communication skills to resolve issues because that's the key to resolve the issues, not to pretend they're not there, not not to silence treatment the other one whenever they do something you don't like.
right,
None
right.
of that is not healthy. That is not how to have connection. And I started this with saying we all deeply desire to be loved and cherished and seen for who we truly are. And to
Yes,
fulfill that, we have to do our work so that the relationships we're in, friendships,
right.
intimate, otherwise, they are choices because we enjoy being with them. They bring something, they bring an extra light into your life,
Right.
not because, oh, now I feel like a whole person. And when you're not with me, I don't feel like a whole person.
Mm,
You become that whole person.
right, right,
That's not what our culture teaches us.
right,
That's not what
exactly,
movies are about. That's not what
right,
TV shows are about.
right, right, right. And that's not to say that you can't miss someone when you're not with them, right?
Right.
Like,
That's
we
different.
can miss someone,
Right.
but But I guess maybe and you can speak to this a little more, like, what is that level of desperation feeling like, "Oh, I missed them, I can't wait to see them again," versus, I don't know.
It's no, I love that. That was perfect. So I've done this and I've heard it from clients way eons ago in a different lifetime, in my early 20s, early 30s. I would feel like if I wasn't around my husband, I would feel incomplete.
Mm,
I would feel, I can't wait to get back with him so that I can this isn't a clean thought that I would have, but this is, I would feel like a very different person with him than I was without him. And
right,
without him, I didn't feel it was just uncomfortable. I kind of shrunk myself. I would hold myself back. I just wouldn't feel like I wouldn't feel whole in any way.
right,
And
okay.
and if you look at that, if you take a couple steps back away from that and look at that objectively, what a huge burden to put on on my partner, my husband at the time, that he's to make me feel like a whole person.
Mm,
That's not a burden to put on someone. That's our
right.
own responsibility. And that's part of what's missing these days too, not these days, forever, is taking our own being accountable to yourself, being
Yes,
accountable for your own growth, being
for
accountable
yourself. Mhm. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
accountability and thinking about you can only really think about this once you're more accountable and more higher up on the emotional maturity scale that like I said, the burden that I put on my
Right,
husband at the time, and
mhm,
of course he couldn't fulfill that. Nobody can fulfill that. What a
right.
burden to put on him.
Yeah, yeah. So I like that you talked about people that are unhealthy kind of coming together and using the movies and the TV shows as examples, and isn't that true? And you know what, most of us are broken to a certain extent, but years ago when I was volunteer mediating, I was doing it at a group, a home, not a home, a I don't know, a business, an organization, whatever you want to call it. Can you tell I haven't had sleep? But at that place, they wanted a female mediator and a male mediator in the room. So you were co-mediating with somebody, you weren't mediating by yourself. And I think that was to help people not feel ganged up on, if that makes sense. And so early on, I was paired up with somebody who was a counselor and he worked with inmates. And so he did this kind of, as a volunteer. And he said to me at one point, we had gotten done with a family mediation and it was ugly. And he said something like, broken people, how did he say it? Broken people marry broken people. And so I think you can take that and say broken people, connect with broken people, find broken people. I don't know. But then again, I do really believe that to some extent we are all broken. But I like that you are here to work with people to say, let me help you heal. Let me help you see what is broken and let's move forward from there. So I love the work you do. All right, before we close out, do you have anything else that you want to share with our audience? Any other tips, any how to find you, any of that? Just spit it all out.
Yeah, so I invite you to my website, sherrymcclurkin.com. I have 2 freebies there. One is, and I love this one, I have a lot of fun with it, biblical relationship quiz, where you answer these 20 questions and you're paired with one of 5 biblical um, relational relationships, and some of them are sibling relationships, some of them are married relationships. It's a whole gamut of relationships, and then you're told, and this is the important part. You're told why. So you're told, here's the strength, and here's why. Here's the strength of that. But here's also a growing area. Here's the challenge, and here's a next step. Here's a
Mm,
next step to start growing from that challenging area. So I never
wow.
leave. And I'm happy to, if you take that quiz, I'm happy to sit with you. I got a 30-minute thing we can do from that, working from that quiz to more deeply look at your answers and your responses and what it means to you and where more specific, tailored to you, where you can go specifically with your relationship. Quick and easy thing that we could do. The other freebie is, because I have 2 of them, is the first 2 chapters of the book I wrote. I wrote a book called From Worn Out to Worthy: Healing Emotional Overload and Finally Feeling Secure. So it's not a very big book. It's a good starter book for me, good first book. But the first 2 chapters are free. You can download the first 2 chapters, and they kind of go through the kind of the method that I use, which includes a lot of nervous system work, because so much of this, I didn't use this word, but so much of that, what we bring with us from the past has impacted our nervous systems. So part of healing and moving forward from the assumptions, needs, and expectations is working on your nervous system. And so there's a fair amount in there. It's not just that, but you'll hear me talk about that in the book. And I do
Uh,
work.
yeah. I love that, and just on a personal note, I just mentioned a minute ago, like, I need sleep. So, I need sleep. I haven't slept well for years, but I would say in the last few years, I have learned about that type of work, the central nervous system, and
Right?
I'm employing more and more, exercises into my life, and honestly, I had no idea how much I needed that, but it has really helped me with some things. So, it's huge. It really, really is huge. So, I'm glad that you talk about that. It's one of your things that you work with
Yeah,
people
it's
on.
one of my
That's
things.
great.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. Well, Sherry, thank you so much, so
Ah,
much. And I would love
please.
for you to come back on seriously and talk about boundaries so we can talk about that.
Yes, that's a whole nother topic. Yes.
It is. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna put her information in the show notes, the link to her website, to her freebies, all of the stuff, the book that I mentioned about the 5 apology languages, and the link to the episode that she did before. Okay, everybody, thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye.